An old family rule: you have to come to the cabin this summer, and really every summer. Transcending family rules. My sister texted me recently and invited me to get together with her. We live 5,000 miles apart, and she was willing to meet me halfway. She even gave 2 suggestions of how it could work. Needless to say, I was touched. I've always been close to her, and though in recent years it's been harder to keep up, but I also know these days that I'm just not interested in travel. Somehow, COVID for me was a welcome break from travel, and I've been traveling my whole life, and I'm just not interested yet in starting up again. I took a little while to respond, but eventually I shared this with her and suggested we catch up by phone or Zoom at scheduled times, like once a month. And afterwards, I felt a little guilty because I wasn't doing much giving here. That's what it felt like. That was my feeling. Like, I'm not giving much here. She's reaching out to me. I'd like to be closer. She'd like to be closer. Yet I don't want to travel. And I noticed myself thinking there was something wrong with me for not giving here. Basically, I broke a family rule. I realized at that point that I'd broken the rule, at least in my mind, that I had learned from my mom. That is, you can't say no to someone who's asking you to do something. It's kind of an unwritten rule in our family. No wonder I have trouble saying no. In fact, the idea is it's selfish to refuse. And I remember my mom even saying that once. And that's exactly how I was judging myself in this situation. I suddenly started seeing myself as ungrateful or selfish, even a black sheep in the family. And all of my training since I was young started to kick in. Come on, it's not that hard. Make an effort. And I started seeing images of when my mom would book plane tickets for me to come home without asking if I wanted to come. Or if she did ask, she would not take no for an answer. And from this, I learned that no was not a valid answer. I had to go, whether I liked it or not. And I had better find a way to like it too, because she was doing me a favor. I spent many years this way. At first, I resisted, but eventually I surrendered, and I did enjoy myself. And as it turns out, it was a good thing that I traveled so much to Mom, because she died kind of young, and I have a lot of memories because of her insistence. But COVID reminded me that I don't actually want to travel that much. I like to travel, but I also like staying home. And I don't miss the expense, the loss of momentum that I find happens when I go away, especially with my work, and the fatigue that often comes with travel. So somehow I'm more in touch with my unpopular truth these days. So much so that I was willing to speak honestly about it to my sister, who was respectful, but disappointed also. Of course, my sister is not quite the same as my mom. I might still have caved in to my mom if she was still around to insist, but nevertheless, I see this as progress. No is hard for me. The reason I have trouble saying no is that I was actively dissuaded from sticking to my guns as a young person. I learned that fulfilling other people's wishes was more important than fulfilling my own. But that has been turning around for a long time now. Doing the work of Byron Katie, 4 questions and turnarounds, has been a slow wake-up call for me. I now ask myself with much more frequency, what do I think? What do I want to do? And I'm willing to take the fallout that comes from not doing what others want. I still chuckle when I think of those who ask me if the work will turn you into a doormat. It's a very common question. For me, I was a doormat, and the work has shown me how to stand up for myself. But there's still a little piece of it left. The feeling of guilt is still there a little bit. There's a little feeling of shame and self-blame. And I could feel it in this situation, and it shows me that I'm still believing some of the old story, the old family rules. The story goes like this. It's selfish to say no. You have to have a good reason to say no. You will be rejected if you say no. You should make an effort to turn your no into a yes. These are some underlying beliefs that I can now question to clean up my story even more. Life will keep testing me until I'm able to stand up for myself without any guilt at all. I see the progress I've made, and I see what more can be done. What are your family rules? How about you? What are the rules you are conforming to? Do they work for you? If yes, then there's no problem. If no, then what are you afraid of? Notice your stressful thoughts and beliefs. Write them down and go through the 4 questions and turnarounds in search of new perspectives. For me, this is an exciting path of self-discovery, finally asking myself what I think. So join me and let's walk this path together. And I end with a quote from Byron Katie in her book, I Need Your Love, Is It True? The rules of each relationship dictate all the things you have to do or not do to avoid resentment. These rules aren't written down or even spoken. You find out what they are by breaking them.